On today's episode of the DYOJO Podcast, we have a salacious story of an interaction between an unruly contractor and an unwitting customer as it relates to the insurance scope of work for a hail damage.
Oh, no!
A story we're all too familiar with. It'll frustrate you, it'll anger you, but maybe through this discussion it will also educate you.
Honest conversations.
We also have a preview of an upcoming episode where we did an on-site recording with a local contractor, a mitigation contractor. Very interesting story from my perspective, knowing how they've come up, come down, wanted out, reinvested in themselves and in the business, and then recently sold and have been happy. They're about a year into that transaction and have been happy with the outcome and continue to expand the business with the new merger. And then also some cool things that you can be a part of via the Restoration Industry Association 2025 Expo and Industry Trade Show.
We're here for it.
The 50-50 Challenge! And other ways, creative ideas for connecting as well outside of that particular event. Welcome back to the DYOJO Podcast. I'm your host, John Isaacson. Like you, I'm a contractor. I'm also an author and an educator.
Hi, everybody out there, DYOJO Nation. This is the Global Watchdog, Pete Consigli.
Here at the DYOJO Podcast, our mission is simple: to help contractors shorten their dang learning curve.
DYOJO Podcast!
Whether you're growing your skills or your business, we work hard to ensure that each episode will provide value to our loyal listeners.
It should also be noted that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization, company, or sponsor.
You have entered the DYOJO Podcast.
In an upcoming episode of the DYOJO Podcast, we're doing a few things. Number one, we're taking our cameras on site, which has been a learning process, so bear with us as we continue to learn how to do this. Big shout out to Andrew Park with Arkin. They do contents restoration out of Tacoma, Washington. He's been helping with the videoing. Big kudos in this episode to Taylor and Dom Rivas and their team at H2O down in Lacey, Washington.
We literally have a process for everything at H2O Way, down to how to load the toilet paper dispenser in the boys' bathroom.
So their story is not all that different from a lot of our listeners' stories. Small business.
Yes.
You've built a strong business in a very small market.
Tiny market, yeah.
The ups and downs of starting off on a real rocket trajectory, meeting various obstacles like these.
We have been burned by referring parties. We have been burned by partners. We have been burned by mentors, employees.
What the listener will get from this interview is the starting of a business.
So we've kind of come full circle a couple times, you know.
I mean, you guys started and it took off, right? And then COVID and employee issues. All the obstacles, the decline, especially in that period in 2020 where there was so much that was outside of our control as contractors and business people.
We just really gave it a hard shot this last go around. And pre-COVID, we probably had 8 to 10 employees, and we were doing 35, 40 jobs a month.
And then that steady growth into selling the business and being part of the mergers and acquisitions prevalent in our market.
The mergers and acquisitions process, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It is
Rooter to the tutor.
I mean, it is like very intimidating.
We really enjoyed this filming on site for the DYOJO Podcast, getting a peek behind the curtain.
Any kind of good outcome, it has to come with some kind of crazy sacrifice.
Yeah.
And we feel like we definitely put that sacrifice in.
Hearing the story from a local contractor who's done well for themselves, and hope that you enjoy this first of many in this new format that we're trying out. We get lumped in as property restoration contractors with the construction industry.
What would you say you do here?
Distinct skill set, training, certification, best practices.
Restoration machines!
So another item that the RIA is working on, getting an NAICS code.
I'm feeling this.
Which will help distinguish our industry from just an add-on service or some other service within the trades. RIA is proud to announce the formal submission of a request to the federal government for the establishment of a new 6-digit NAICS code, 624231, Emergency Restoration Services. This initiative, led by the RIA NAICS Task Force, a group that originated from the AGA Legislative Task Force, represents a major step forward in securing proper recognition for the specialized and time-sensitive work performed by restoration professionals. All right, state of the podcast address, my fellow DYOJOians. You may have noticed some of our recent videos. We've been experimenting a lot more with on-site recording, different ways to capture the video and audio. So as we work through some of that and the editing, it takes a lot longer on the editing side.
Pain and stupidity.
Something that came across the desk here at the DYOJO Podcast via LinkedIn. Listen to this case study, shall we say. I recently filed a hail damage claim and was approved. The contractor who originally notified me of the hail damage mentioned I might get coverage if I filed through insurance. That part was true, and I appreciated the heads up, but told him I had the money to pay him in full. But when I asked him for an estimate to replace my roof, he refused, unless I handed over my insurance scope of work. I said no. My payout and scope are between me and my insurance company. I just wanted a fair estimate. He pushed back hard, saying he got us approved, in quotes. While he did alert me to the damage, my insurance company approved the claim based on their inspection. And per 2023 rule changes, the insurance check is being sent directly to me, not him. After going back and forth, he finally released us from a pre-work contract that was outdated anyway. But it didn't stop there. That same day, I got a call from my insurance adjuster. The contractor had submitted a surprise invoice for $1,200 in temporary repairs, which I never approved and never had done. He also demanded the insurance payment that was sent to him. My adjuster told me he had to get loud and stern with the guy to shut it down. For the record, I already paid $375 via Cash App for a quick fix paid directly to the tech the contractor sent. That's it. That's on record. This contractor knew he wasn't getting away with it and still tried to manipulate the system. How is this still happening in 2025?
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
This is a lot of questions. On the contractor side, it's common we go out to a loss and observe the damages. We do docu-sketch, detailed photo labels per room, per damage. We do a video walkthrough, and then we have our estimator typically start working on the estimate. And because we feel we're better than most at writing estimates and Xactimate, I think those of you who listen to the DYOJO podcast regularly know my take on Xactimate is it's a communications platform more than it is an estimating platform, in the sense that it creates the data in the language the insurance company can, interpret it or receive it and potentially have a conversation. And then the customer gets paid based on our estimate, our documentation, and then wants to go with someone cheaper. So that's, from a contractor standpoint, that's infuriating. And we've talked over the course of the podcast about different ways to do that. Sounds like this is one approach, was get a pre-work authorization, which probably names them as the contractor, that kind of thing. and then subject to being able to bill for their time. We've experimented with what we called a letter of intent, and we would basically explain, hey, we don't charge for our services up front, but if we go through all this work, the expense of getting there, travel, the expense of the DocuSketch, that kind of thing, having Xactimate as an expense, then, and you choose to go with somebody else, then we want to be able to bill for our time, and we had a schedule of values. Basically what it usually would cost for most losses of similar size. So, but it sounds like they got the pre-work contract signed, which the customer says was outdated, but weren't the ones that wrote the estimate or provided the damage assessment. Again, there's hail damage for the roof. It's kind of interesting. Sounds like contractor going door to door telling people that they have damages and they should contact their insurance company. What's odd, what's maybe a red flag for most consumers, I don't know, the contractors, correct me if I'm wrong, but so the contractor sends a technician out for some small repairs for $375, so it doesn't sound like a substantial scope of work, that they pay to the tech directly via Cash App. So that sounds like mercenaries, right? So a rep from the company is going out, inspecting houses. You may have hail damage. If you call your insurance company, it's probably covered. Sign this, work off, and then we'll get a tech out here, but you need to pay them via Cash App. That's interesting. Doesn't bode well.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
What's interesting, this person is a recruitment and compliance manager, so maybe somebody that has a little more experience with it. On the contractor side, it's not fun feeling like you're getting taken advantage of, and so we're always talking about ways to better screen our customers, better communicate. This is what like a contract, the basis of a contract is, this is what we as a contractor are doing and are responsible for. This is what you as a customer are doing and responsible for. And at current scope of work, this is the value we estimated at. So there's an agreement. I'm going to do X, you're going to do Y, and the payment, if completed, will be Z, is the basis of a contract. So a lot of what we deal with as contractors is our own issue in not being clearer about, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing. If I do this, you will pay me Z. So it sounds like, that was, but then going around and trying to, I feel like it's not a bad thing to get compensated for what you did, but it needs to be clearer on the front end. This is the service we're providing. This is what we expect to be paid. And if we should know the basic outcomes, right? You're either going to be approved, denied, or partial, right? So if you're approved, boom, we rock and roll. If you're denied, let's have a conversation, see what we can do to help you out. If it's somewhere in the middle, again, then we'll get the data. Let's review that together. And I think something we've been talking about at our company locally, local Puyallup company that does insurance repairs and remodeling work, is, how do we set that tone early on that, hey, we're on your team. We are, working for you, with you to make this happen. Insofar, I think it is important that we have a code of ethics as contractors. The Restoration Industry Association Code of Ethics is a good one to go off of. But at the DYOJO, we like to promote it's like, kind, and quality. So we are going to do everything in our power in an insurance scenario to document, provide a detailed scope, and work from the basis point that we are restoring the property to resemble pre-loss conditions with materials of like, kind, and quality. That should be the standard. I wrote an article in CNR magazine not that long ago about letting the structure speak. And I think if the adjuster, the customer, and the contractor agree to that standard, right, we are restoring this property to resemble pre-loss conditions with materials of like, kind, and quality. We are all working to allow the structure to speak as clearly as possible to the source, the extent of damages, that should guide. Can I inspect your home? Letting the structure speak, and the standard should guide, how the mitigation process goes to determine the extent of damages and what needs to be done to mitigate those. And then same for the repairs. Insofar as we all believe these are related to the same damage scenario, then we're going to repair it. And there's a lot of gray area, if you can tie in flooring, if you can restore cabinets, those kinds of things. And it gets the exterior, siding, roofing, what is the insurance company owe? And so, again, like we talk about, the contractor is what can you do? What is the scope of work that you can do within that standard? The customer has this perspective of this is what the pre-loss condition was. This is what I thought I bought when I bought my insurance. This is what happened during the claim. And then the adjuster is to interpret the letter of the policy, right? Well, this is specifically excluded and here's where. Or this is a gray area. This is how we decided this. So kind of interesting, but I think with this story, the main thing I would encourage our listeners is really be clear. Maybe that's a good training opportunity to say, hey, in this kind of a scenario, what could we have done differently as a company? And that should be a high priority. How do we communicate clearly with our customers so that we win the ones that we want, that are good alignment for our company, but set that hook early on that we are the company that you want to work with that's going to help you through this process.
The following is an excerpt from P2T, Preparing to Thrive in the Modern Workplace by Jonathan Isaacson. 2 young pros and the 3 Bs. Let's contrast and compare 2 young professionals applying the principles in this book. What would they look like if they were practicing opposite ends of the 3 Bs? The 3 Bs are be honest, be hardworking, and be willing to learn. Young professional A, being honest, understands where they are starting from, does their best to tell the truth to others. Hardworking, shows up and does what they say, gives advance notice if something changes. Each day they try to be better than the last. Willing to learn, listens and follows through. They want to earn more, so they are committed to learn more. Young professional B, entitled. They think the world owes them something, says what they think needs to be said in the moment. Unreliable, often late or doesn't show up. When they do show up, they aren't focused. They find ways to have other people do their work. Uncoachable, has to be told the same information multiple times, expects more money without taking on more responsibility. So if this resonates with you, either as an owner, a manager, or an up-and-coming young professional, perhaps you'd like to read more from P2T, Preparing to Thrive in the Modern Workplace by Jonathan L. Isaacson.
Have you heard of the hashtag 50/50 Restore Challenge?
Tell the industry something exciting.
Exciting.
Hello, restorers.
Oh my God.
Have you heard of CNR Magazine?
How would I help you out here? We are talking about the brand new 50/50 challenge.
The 50/50 Challenge.
That is being launched between the DYOJO and CNR Magazine. We are super excited.
Hi, hello. Hi, Restorer.
This is actually John's brainchild that he kind of experimented with last year, and we're taking it to the next level at RIA this year. It means you can win some swag while you're meeting people. Maybe it'll make networking a little bit easier. We're here for it.
The 50/50 Challenge. Hello, young restorer. Are you Skibbity? Well, come Ohio this challenge. I think they announced last year it was record attendance and then record attendance by first-time attendees. Well, and those of you that have been in the industry, get out of your bubble, meet some new people, embrace the incoming contractors and generations, and then those of you that are new, keep pushing people to burst their bubbles. Pop bubbles. That's what we're trying to do. Pop some bubbles.
So we designed a postcard. One side has a map You can cross off states easily so you can visualize it. The other side has a list where you can write everybody's name, fill out the postcard, bring it back, and we're going to have a raffle. Just take a picture with somebody and share it with the hashtag 5050restore.
That is a good reminder, though, to the people who have been in the industry a long time. I mean, this is a good challenge because we do all go into our groups. The industry is so small. So if you walk into a room, you can see where the groups of friends are. I'm certainly guilty of that. So that's actually a really good point of like, you know what?
The 50-50 challenge.
All right.
And I'm proud to be a Cianarican.
Cianarican.
Or at least I know I can read.
Going on our t-shirt.
CNR. Anyway.
Bless those men and women who wrote those articles and gave that information to me.
Wow.
Because I'm proud to be a Cianarican.
That was the whole promo with Sarah's end right there.
The DYOJO is the Do Your Own Job Dojo.
That's what you need for a team to be successful. Everyone to do their own
dang
job.
You do your
dang
job, I'm doing my
dang
job. We have a fighting chance. That's a wrap for this episode. I'm John Isaacson, and it's been a pleasure sharing insights to help you shorten that dang learning curve.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
If we have been helpful, please like,
share, comment, and subscribe.
If you'd like to learn more about our education and outreach efforts, please check out our website, thedyojo.com. My 5 books for the skilled trades can be purchased through Amazon, including my latest, P2T, Preparing to Thrive in the Modern Workplace, which was written to help employers and young professionals build success together.
Wow, that's real good, buddy.
Thanks to our guests and sponsors for making this possible. Until next time, keep thriving in the trades.
DYOJO Podcast, over and out.